Hi, friends, and welcome back to Millennials Gone Circular, the podcast making circularity a reality. I'm your co host, Caitlyn Socwell, and today's episode, Said, Fadyl, and I are holding down the mic. This episode is a special one because we're flipping the script. You asked the questions, and now we're answering them. You asked about redefining business as a force for social good, for real life examples, circular companies, and even whether beekeeping can be part of a circular business model. Spoiler alert, it can. And we get into it all. This is your chance to hear us think on our feet, share what we've learned, and reflect on some amazing ways our community is already engaging with the circularity movement. So grab your favorite beverage or strap on your walking shoes. It's time to answer your circularity questions.
Millennials Gone Circular. We got the vibe spectacular. Make a change every day. Join the movement, come with me.
Okay, so welcome back to Millennials Gone Circular. We are now on our 12th episode, and this time we're doing things a little bit different. Some of our community have submitted some questions for us, and so Said and I will be answering some of our community's questions. So this is so exciting. How are you feeling, Said?
Great to have questions from our listeners. That means that we are engaging them. It's interesting to take a moment to reflect on those questions. And also feel free to add more questions in the comments in this actual episode, and then we'll try to cover them in the following episodes.
Well, there's no time to waste, so let's get straight into the first one. Our first question is from Adina.
Hi, my name is Adina, Romanian by birth, global citizen by choice. I've been living in China for the past 13 years. I'm an environmental psychology researcher and consultant and social entrepreneur, currently based in Germany doing a Klaus Topfer Sustainability Fellowship at the RIFS Research Institute for Sustainability, working on redefining business as an entity to solve social issues and create social value in a financially sustainable way as a solution for climate change issues. I was wondering how this definition speaks to you and how you see it translated to circularity. Do you have any examples of entrepreneurs in mind that have already built businesses that would fit this definition? I think Millennials Gone Circular is amazing. Keep the amazingness coming. Thank you.
Wow, amazing loaded question and super impressive work, Adina. You go, girl. Okay, I think what Adina is basically asking is what if we thought of businesses as something that can solve problems like climate change or inequality in society rather than just a way to make money? So maybe let's start with that first part of the question and then we'll work our way through the other sub questions that Adina asks here. Said, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think indeed businesses don't have to choose between profit and impact. I think by aligning their core strategy with solving social and or environmental issues, they can also open new markets, reduce costs, and build brand loyalty. However, I think the reality is that adopting a strategy or a business model that prioritizes equally both impact alongside the profit is not easy in our today capitalistic world systems. It's like this system where money comes first. No one, I think, will come invest in your business if it's not profitable in the first place.
Yeah.
The ESG criteria often comes like in the second as a second priority. From my perspective, and I think you would share that, Caitlyn, we need businesses, of course, that integrate people, planet, profit in their strategy. And we're seeing some examples, and we will cover those later. It's of course something that is needed, especially in today's business. However, it's not like easy to have this shift from profit driven to purpose driven, or also where we integrate ASG in the business, because traditionally economies needed to grow and we focus only on the profits and growing the economy. And now we have realized we need to change, and to change we need businesses to change. but it's not easy to have that change like I think even in a decade. It would take probably generations, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. There is a shift already that we're seeing from the profit focus to the more purpose focused. And I think consumers, we all know how I feel about that word, but consumers are definitely demanding more and more that there be some sort of social license in place, that they're operating from a place of impact rather than extraction. And shareholders are, we're starting to see that same attitude and expectation from shareholders, but even within the company as well. As a generation, millennials and definitely Gen Zs and the upcoming alpha generation, there's more of an importance placed on their role contributing to something that has positive impact rather than the traditional make money, let's grind, let's make money for someone else. Um,
Indeed, maybe I can add to that is depending on where you are, like as a consumer, as a person on this planet, your economic status matters alongside your consciousness and your willingness to really like consider your actions when it comes to their impacts on climate change and so on. So the economic status matters because if you are in a underdeveloped country, for instance, and you're really focusing on your basic needs, of course, I mean, you will not think that or will not assume that your first priority will be to think about like any climate or people impact on people and so on. So there is also this, it's a counter current. If we need to address climate change, we need to pay for it or we need to invest in it. But where that money will come from, actually, it will need to come from somewhere. And usually it comes from the money the wealth that was already created. It was usually from linear businesses or like fossil fuel based businesses and so on. And we also need to, I think, maybe agree or like accept that is also a reality. We need to use that money in a corrective businesses or businesses that take corrective measures to cover what the old traditional businesses have done.
yeah, and I think that's through, there's lots of different ways that we can do that. So of course we can, as people buying things from companies, we can vote with our wallet. We can invest our money into the business models that support regeneration and circular practices. Companies, of course, can take it upon themselves out of their own goodness of their heart, which many are, of course, doing. And then, of course, there is the legislation level. So we need incentives for the companies that need a bit of more of a push. And we also need to take in account the law of diffusion. No, sorry, the law of innovation. No, innovation diffusion theory. What's it called?
The spreading, like you're referring to spreading innovation.
Innovation diffusion theory. Got it. It just came to mind. Yeah. So that's where, I mean, we also need to keep that in mind. So the first, I don't know, 10% or so are the innovators. So you've got the people starting the businesses, wanting to have impact. Then you've got the next 12 to 15% or 15 to 18%, whatever the percentage is. They're the early adopters. And then you've got the majority. So the early majority, late majority, and then laggards that just come along because they have no choice. We need to kind of cater to each of one of those groups um, in terms of hanging a carrot by a stick. But I think we could talk about this first. This is just the first part of the question side. I think we could talk
Yes.
about it forever. So Adina, I think moral of the story to the first part of the question is yes. Businesses can be something, businesses can be a tool to solve problems like climate change or inequity in society rather than just being a way to make money. And I think that's the way forward. They need to be more than just a way to make money because we can't just keep growing infinitely. Now, I want to get to your second part of your question, Adina, and that was how does this fit into the circular economy? So, this idea of this type of business model, how does it fit in the circular economy? Any thoughts?
Well, first thing is any company's business model that is circular or has a circular component of it is, I mean, generally having a positive impact on resource and therefore climate on environmental sustainability. And that is, I think, the main link here. We see that circular economy then is a framework that can be used and leveraged and implemented to put in place solutions or businesses that actually work for both planet, people, and profit, of course. So yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think circular economy thinking it like fits perfectly here. It's all about circularity is all about designing out waste, keeping materials in use, and regenerating our natural systems. So that's on one hand of it. But on the other hand of circularity is it's also about designing value socially. So we're creating jobs and repair and reuse or local resource loops. So it definitely impacts social concepts just as much as it does environmental. And that's the great thing about circularity thinking. So I think circular businesses are often solving environmental problems by design, and they're problem solvers by default. So they try to eliminate waste, they're reducing emissions, they're making better use of resources from the start. And of course that is impacting people and communities at the local level. I would also add in there that circular business models also, if they're operating circularly, they are trying to keep products in use longer, and then they're also paying fair wages to the person that's repairing it or refurbishing it or upcycling it. So then they're also, to be able to do this, they might also be partnering with social enterprises to redistribute these used goods. So lots of points here to a simple question. How does this idea of that definition of a business, a financially sustainable business that's creating social value and solving climate change, is it possible for them? That type of business model or that definition definitely fits in with the circular economy, is I think what we're getting to. Agreed?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay. There's a third part to Adina's question. So Adina wants some real life examples of people who've already created businesses like this. Any thoughts on this one?
I think there are plenty. And we can mention Too Good to Go. It's
Yes. I love Too Good to Go. Not sponsored, just love it.
I think maybe you heard about it already, but it's basically an app that lets people buy unsold food from restaurants, cafes, bakeries, and at a discount. So it's I think it's interesting business models because at the same time it's discounted, so it allows maybe so many people to have access to food. That's maybe a social part of it. Also, of course, saving food waste. And then, of course, I think it's a new business, so it's job opportunities. It's an additional wealth that is put into the economy. So we cannot even mention that. So it's very clear business model that works. And I think that we could find like similar business models, like or similar companies in many countries.
I Another one for me along the food side of things. So Too Good to Go is Europe based. I know they just recently launched in Australia, but they're definitely branching out. So they're doing well. So the business model is working.
And it makes sense, a lot of sense to have that. It's like why we
Yeah,
didn't have that like
right?
decades ago.
No brainer. No brainer. And that's often what circularity is. It is a no
Sure.
brainer sometimes.
But thinking thinking about why it happened, maybe not too long ago, I guess because of incentives and consumer behavior. Because probably maybe, I don't know, in the 90s or early 2000s, no one would think to buy unsold food and so on, like because of the status or because of the maybe the availability of fresh food. Also, maybe now it's because of climate change, like food is not available as before, maybe, and therefore I think there are incentives from different actions that pushes to have these sort of businesses being viable and
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, it's a good example of how consumer behavior can dictate whether a business is a circular business is ready to be successful or not. And I think there's campaigns I think that have been valuable to this as well. So like the look smell see look smell campaign about food that's past its expiry date. So there's little things, little campaigns of awareness that are popping up that I think are pushing people to be more open to buying secondhand, buying unsold goods, and recognizing that they're just as valuable as if they were bought new. So the space that's growing for sure. I was going to say another food one that I've been contributing to consuming recently. There's a organization called Zero or No Waste Army in the
Mm,
Netherlands, and
what a name.
they I know, I love it. No Waste Army. So essentially, they come across they work with different farmers or importers where, for whatever reason, maybe there's a surplus, maybe they don't look exactly right, but basically they buy this product to support these importers or farmers so they don't lose out on their income. But then they work together and create something out of it and sell it. So recently an example was that in the Netherlands we had an amazing year for potato production. It was just so good. But that meant we had this I think around the world there was a potato surplus. So we had this huge surplus of potatoes in the Netherlands, but because also the the potato market was so saturated, they couldn't sell them internationally and couldn't sell them. Yeah, they just had so many potatoes. So they launched this campaign. They bought these surplus potatoes, made them into potato wedges, and did a campaign through the No Waste Army where um, you could buy the potato wedges to support, the support, make sure that the potatoes didn't go to waste. So you could either buy the wedges or you could buy a bag to donate to the charity. So I think the minimum was 3 bags. So I bought, I think it ended up being 4.5 kilos of potato wedges. So I had potato wedges for like every meal for 2 weeks, essentially. But it was so cool, and it was such a cool community initiative. You had to go to a particular spot. They pulled up a van, set up a little table, and then yeah, you rode your little bike, got your 3 bags of 1.5 kilo potato wedges, and on you went. But it's so cool. That was my like intro to it. But now I buy the zero waste box. So every month they send you a box, and in this month there was a carrot surplus. There was some plums in there. So a huge batch of beautiful plums came in from South Africa, and they were rejected at import because there was a temperature fault during transit. So they were just a little bit more juicy than they were supposed to be. So then
Yeah.
they were rejected, all of them, even though they're beautiful. So No Waste Army took those and made them into this plum syrup, and yeah, syruped plums. Anyways, there's a bunch of examples like that. And I just wanted to really give them a shout out because I'm
That sounds
obsessed.
really smart. Um, I just thought about challenging you a bit
Mm-hmm.
in a way that, okay, if you like take an example of the potato, if you have like if you buy 3, 4 bags, um, like, do you think about your like your planning and like your day to day, I know, life that you would be consuming those bags like before they get expired. Like, because also there is this risk that you buy, of course, intentionally you want to support the farmers or also support the charity, but then you end up with waste in your place.
Yeah. I am happy and embarrassed to admit that all 3 1.5 kilo bags of wedges have been consumed and were not wasted.
It's
I
perfect.
Yeah. Now they are frozen. So I am in a position where I have a mini chest freezer in the
Mm,
Dutch. The Dutch don't really like to have big freezers, so I just have a tiny ice cube freezer. So I actually
mhm.
bought a separate freezer so I could, yeah, save food from going off.
Yeah,
I recognize not everyone's in that position. I just happen to be in
yeah,
that
yeah.
position. But with the box that they send you though, it comes with a little QR code. I've actually got it right here. How cute. Again, not sponsored, just want to give them a shout out. It comes with this little, oh no, you can't see it. Oh, maybe I'll put it close to me. There we go.
Yeah.
It comes with this little card and then you scan the QR code and it tells you all the things you can do with it. It's also got recipes. So this
Wow,
box had some pea curry and it gives you a little recipe about how to use it. So you don't just get this and go, oh, what the heck do I do with this?
that's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Anywho, No
Yeah.
Waste Army, check them out. Hopefully they have similar operations and organizations in other countries because they're really cool. All right. Well, I think again, something we could talk about forever. There's so many other examples. And I think we've mentioned a few of these on the show already, but there's the Repair Cafe, which is a global network of cafes that repair things, also started here in the Netherlands. Um, there is Fairphone, again, Netherlands. Sorry, this is a bit of a biased list, but Fairphone, where it's built to be repaired. Um, yeah, there's so many different things.
And I see like the one common thing among this example is they are all trying to fix the old models basically, or
Mhm.
try to take corrective measures. Because if we take the example of food, for instance, Too Good to Go, um, they're trying basically to fix like the impacts or the issues created by the restaurants and the bakeries and all those sort of companies. So if they would have avoided to have waste in the first place, we would not have this kind of company. Also for repair coffee, if it was easier to repair or if it was modular design, like like what is Fairphone is doing, then maybe it's easier actually to repair at home. And also if they offered maybe their own repairing services accessible to everyone, then we would not have these kind of companies. So I see that there's like we are after the traditional businesses to correct um, and do better than what they are doing.
Certainly. Okay, well, we've got a great list of examples. I think Adina, I'm sure, would love to check out more of those. So if those of you playing from home have any businesses in mind that we can't mention them all. So please drop them in the comments for us. In episode 9, we did a whole episode on circular business models with our very own Said Fadyl. So head over there to learn a bit more, and it won't be the last episode we do, I'm sure. There's so much meat to circular business models. We'll certainly dive into it in the future. But let's get to our next question. This question is from Conic.
Hello, my name is Conic and I'm from Ireland and I have a fascination with bees. So my question is, can beekeeping be part of a circular business model?
Praise be to the bees. What a wholesome question. What do we think here? Can beekeeping be part of a circular business model? Pun intended. Snuck it in there.
I think a short answer is yes. If it's designed
Okay,
with
yes, we're moving on.
yeah. of course, if it's designed with circular economy principles, any
Yeah, I mean one of the circular principles is regeneration. So, I mean, if the bees are there to regenerate ecosystems,
can we think about maybe the counterexample is they are let's say overexploited. I'm not sure if that term exists. So that's maybe
I
not
think
super regenerative, I think, then in
yeah,
that
yeah.
case. So it's good to have like this condition, maybe. I hope that they're like their production system that allows to have regeneration basically.
Yeah, I know a lot of farmers use bees to pollinate their crops. And I know a lot of like part of it depends on what level of veganism you choose. I'm not vegan myself at the moment. So I think there's a bit of a spectrum from what I understand, but I know some level of veganism includes not purchasing fruit that have used bees to
Mm.
enable the growth of that fruit. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's really another level, huh?
Yeah, yeah. But it's a good point. It's a good point to bring up that yeah, it can be circular, but there's a little asterisk about the in yeah, I guess the situation of the exploitation of bees. But
Yeah.
overall, I would say beekeeping in general, if you're just beekeeping, not necessarily using them to exploit and grow crops and all of that. If you're just a lovely little beekeeper, that's supporting biodiversity because it's promoting pollination of local plants and crops. And I might just say, even if farmers are importing bees and having them on their those bees, I mean, those bees don't follow rules. I mean, I'm sure they'll have lots of things to pollinate on that farmer's land, but there's nothing keeping them from going over to the next little plot and pollinating all the wildflowers and things. So there's
Yeah.
still some spillover, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's like the thing is my like little understanding about beekeeping is it's a bit conditioned with the climate and the ecosystem around them. So basically, if you take them from an environment that is not for them, and then you take them to another one that maybe just for the purposes of like farming or growing sort of crops, I think that's where you can see the differences between like, what makes sense and what doesn't. But overall, of course, they support biodiversity. And I think like maybe small farmers who already have like there maybe the bees like in the ecosystem. It's like in some I think regions, at least where I come from, we have some let's say not cities, but like especially towards the mountains where we have these areas famous for having beekeeping like farmers or exploiters. And then of course it's like it's not really for specific purpose, like for growing crops, but rather actually to just produce honey and for
Wax
locals.
and yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, I'd say, because bees in themselves, of course, they're amazing. I mean, they make honey and wax and other things, and they don't import anything. There's no synthetics required. They just are able to make it. And even the waste, like beeswax and stuff, can be reused in candles and balms and packaging. And that's just an amazing ecosystem of things that they can do, whilst also pollinating and making it possible for us to live. So bees themselves are circular, but I guess it comes down to the way that we interact with them. And yeah, either are we working with them or are we exploiting them? I think that's what comes
Yeah,
down to. And it's not
indeed.
a topic that I am super in depth about. Maybe we just need to get into beekeeping side
Yeah.
and learn this ourselves. But if any of our listeners have a comment or some thoughts on this, please send it through because yeah, it's
I
really
I know my father has some experience. So recently he found like I don't know
bring them on the
how we call it.
pod. Let's get
Yeah,
Papa Saeed on.
but so he found like I don't know what he call in English. It's like a group of bees that you find it in
A
the
swarm, a
in the
hive.
field. Then you bring it to the box basically where you give them like their space and so on. So he did that, and now he has only one box. And
Wait. He found a swarm of bees
yeah,
and
in the fields. Yeah,
brought the bees back with him, or he brought the
yeah.
box
He
to
takes
them.
this box, um, like that is used. I think in general, I don't know how it is the design, and I never opened it. And he basically he knows how to do it, and I haven't seen him. So he brings it in the box, and then he puts it in our garden. And it's like it's not really far from the fields, like where we have small farming fields, and basically that's since I think spring this year. So they are growing and they are producing some honey and so on. But his idea is not to consume that honey at all. So his idea is that for winter, because it's gonna be hard for them because there is no like plants or like flowers and so on. So they would consume that honey that they produced during the summer and spring. They would like we just keep it for them. So we'll not actually produce it, like consume it. And the idea is that to give them like that, to let them grow until they are bigger, and then maybe they can we can have like multiple boxes. Then maybe you can start consume some. So maybe that's a good example of not exploiting them, because we could
Yeah,
take all the honey that they produced and just consume it.
yeah. Hold on. So that is a great example, but you said something that I am so confused about. Do bees eat their own honey?
Yeah, that's what I understood.
Wow. Okay, didn't know that.
Because it's a sort. I think so. I mean, that's at least I understood. Like,
Okay. If all you beekeepers listening could answer this, put put a put us at ease
yes,
here.
actually, I just yeah, they
Just
confirmed it.
Google it.
Yeah, I think it's good
Wow.
to be sure about what we are sharing. But because
Yeah.
my father like assured me, yes, they will do that. Because I wanted to really get at least some, like to try it. I never got this experience
Yeah.
to go to. I mean, to where to the really like the source, the origins, and then take honey and then have it. It's.
That's so
But yeah, he told
cool.
me like no, for this winter, for this year, we will not have it. So I was
Yeah.
quite interested.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a good example. I always think about when we are stewards of the planet. I always think about like the hunters and gatherers or the indigenous peoples. They would go to a spot and they would, they would consume that those berries or whatever, but then they'd move on and let that recoup and replenish. So the next time they come around, it's there. So I think that sounds like what you're doing. You're giving them
Yeah,
a chance to get really established and resilient. So then
yeah,
there's an opportunity to then co-benefit.
yeah.
Co-benefit, that's
True.
the one. Yeah. But I think the other side of this, of course, there's hobby beekeeping, and then there's using it on a mass scale.
Yeah, true.
Let's take a beekeeper or maybe a small beekeeper that sells honey at a local market or something. On the consumer side of things, there are ways to make it more circular. I would say the packaging is probably a big thing, using refillable jars or
Yeah,
something that's endlessly recyclable like glass. Obviously, reuse is best, but yeah, just avoiding plastics and make sure we're composting and recycling the byproduct. So just following the R ladder, really. I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of applies to everything, doesn't it? Um, So some real life examples, I had to go and look these up because again, I'm not an expert in beekeeping by any means, but there's some real life examples of some beekeepers, bee organizations doing some good things. There's the Honeybee Conservancy that's based in the US. They are they're placing beehives in food deserts, and a food desert is just an area where there is no easy access to healthy food, but also in urban gardens, and that supports food justice. So the bees also help the communities grow their own food, and they can create little micro enterprises through the honey production. So that's a nice little organization. There's also Savannah Honey, and they are in Ghana. They are working with rural women to create circular bee-based products such as honey and creams and candles, and at the same time, they're regenerating forests through their wildflower planting, and then they train farmers on sustainable farming practices as well. And then, of course, the list wouldn't be complete without something representing the Netherlands. I wanted to bring this up because the Netherlands, Amsterdam in particular, has a bee strategy, like a policy. And I just thought
Wow.
that was really cool. So the city of Amsterdam is actively supporting urban beekeeping through green roofs. Sometimes if you go to a bus stop, the bus stop will be covered in greenery to support the bees and other pollinators. They also have little education hives. They plant flowers specifically to attract bees. Yeah. Local honey producers are part of the more broad plan rather than just being focused on sales as well. So I like that they include them. Anyways, maybe that's
Interesting.
yeah.
Well,
So
I'm
that
I'm
is
thinking, what if what if I go to Amsterdam and I get a bite from by
the
the
bit from the bees. Are you going to sue the city of Amsterdam? My question
yeah,
to
I'm not
you would
sure.
be, what did you do to piss that bee off? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't know because maybe I'm just there. I should not be there.
Yeah. I don't think there's an abnormal amount of bees, like an overwhelming. I don't think it's like bee city.
Yeah.
I think it's just supporting a normal population of bees. I don't know. Next time I go to Amsterdam in the bee season, I will report back and let you know if I've got stung.
Let us know
Okay.
in the comments as well if you're
Yeah.
there, and then if you encounter peace, let us know.
Ooh, yeah. Send us photos. Send us bee photos. That'd be cute. That'd be cute. Okay. Enough with the bee puns. I'm done. Okay. I think we're pretty unanimous in saying that yes, beekeeping can definitely be circular. Um, yeah, I just think it's a really beautiful example of how circular businesses and animals we can work together
Yeah.
to give us food and engage communities and restore our ecosystem all happening at the same time. So thanks again, lovely Conic, for your question. Now we have our third and final question of today.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm from Germany, and I live in the Netherlands. I work as an operational manager and as a freelancer. And my question is, can we, as an individual consumer, do in our day life to live more circular? Do you have any tips on how we can use our waste, maybe for a different purpose? And maybe you have any tips that are not as known, something that can be funny or surprising, actually. Thank you.
Okay, yay, this is my favorite question. I love this topic. I might jump in first because, yeah, it's very near and dear to my heart. I worked in the local government, educating the community on justice, and spent a pretty solid chunk of my time trying to go zero waste myself. First thing to do here is, again, remind yourself of the circular principles. Design out waste, keep waste in circulation as a resource, and regenerate nature. And this definitely applies to our homes and our workplaces as well. So something that we as individuals have ownership of or can take ownership of. I always like to say, start with a waste audit. And I know when you hear audit, that sounds very corporate and scary, but it's so simple. The waste audit with a waste audit, you can kind of get a really good idea of what type of waste that you're generating, and it can be a really fun family or colleague activity. Um, and once you know what you're throwing away, you can start to think about different alternatives to buy that maybe don't have the waste along with it. So firstly, starting an audit, and I think we should do a separate episode on this because it's so informative, it's so helpful. And I think you can't fix what you don't measure, and that's where the waste audit comes in. So if you are at home and you want to reduce your waste, or if you're at a workplace and you want to reduce the waste going into your office bins, this is what you do. You get approvals, of course, from the head of the household or your family or your colleagues. You find the people in the household or the workspace that are willing to come along. We call them the coalition of the willing, if you will. And essentially what you can do, really simple, get your garbage bin at home, get a little tarp, put it on the floor, and dump the rubbish out. Weigh it, dump it out, and then you can go through, maybe wear some gloves, maybe you want a little mask because it might get a little bit smelly, but organize the waste into different quadrants. Maybe you've marked these already, or maybe you've got different buckets, however you want to do it, but separate the food waste. So that any organic, so that's anything growing or alive. So it might be plant cuttings or dead leaves. It might be bones, meat bones, or just any scraps of food that you would have put in your mouth or wanted to grow in your house. So that's your green waste. And then you want the recycling side of things. So your soft, scrunchy plastic that can go in one. You could have your aluminum cans or aluminum cans for our American friends. You can have your hard plastic, rigid plastic that can go in another column, your paper, of course, and and maybe there's some other things that you just have no idea what to do with, and just get a lay of the land. And you can even pick up one thing at a time and go, okay, for example, this soy milk, this long life soy milk I'm buying comes in this Tetra Pak. This can't be recycled where I live. It's really hard to recycle because it's made of multiple materials. What can I do to get this same product without the packaging? And that's where the imagination starts. And don't try and do it all at once. Just kind of get an idea of what waste you're generating. Maybe take some notes and then pick one and go, okay, this seems to be the waste that I'm generating most. What can I do to eliminate that particular waste? So with the soy milk option, maybe it's something you make yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe
easy.
I give an example here.
Yeah, please, please, please.
Um, like like something like observation. I don't know if I did a full audit, but I did observe like the waste in my place, and I noticed I have a lot of packaging, especially when I go to supermarkets. If you go to supermarkets, they usually import food from like
Everywhere.
southern hemisphere, like countries like South America and Africa. They put it like in a packaging because they want, of course, to conserve it and so on. And I notice that I come home and they have to put away or to throw away a lot of packaging. And my alternative was to go to flea markets. Flea markets, usually they bring local food or from local farmers, and you just take what you want. Tomato, you take it without packaging, like zucchini, I don't know, fruits, everything is almost without packaging. And then you can put everything in one basket and there you go. And I think just doing that reduced like I think packaging by 40% or so. Like talking only about, of course, food packaging in general, compared to like when you go to supermarkets.
I think that's maybe a better word. It's not as scary. Observe rather than audit. Audit
Yeah,
is quite a
yeah.
scary word, isn't it?
I think
So
auditing
just
is like,
observe.
yeah, because
But if you're
if
nerdy like me and really want the data, you then go and get your hands dirty. I just like digging through waste, and that's maybe just a weird thing about me.
I mean, I think if you are by yourself, like you're not sharing your place with someone else, you are likely to understand, like just by observing and thinking what you buy. I think you would see what you can do and what alternatives present themselves to change.
Yeah. I think the other side of what we have the power to do here. So yes, we have the power to observe and make decisions for alternatives to reduce the waste, and recycle correctly and support circular businesses that are regenerating, all that good stuff. We also have the power to so leave reviews on the product. So you can
Mm.
actually, depending on at the grocery store, you can actually review sometimes the individual products as well. I know, I mean, you don't have to go so far. I have known there's been, what do they call them? There was a thing going around, or a protest going on in Australia at one point, where people would buy their groceries and then they would unpackage all of the groceries and just leave it on like the table or the conveyor belt and then just leave. You don't have to go that far, but you can submit feedback to you can leave a review, you can submit feedback to the supermarket saying, why are you putting bananas in plastic? They're already in a package and they're
Yeah.
self-sustaining. So why are we doing this? Just let them know that this is not what we want, because the reason we have packaging is in response to consumer preferences. And the more people that are doing this, the more people, yeah, the, the better they'll understand.
Yeah, indeed. Use the consumer power.
Yeah.
Call to action.
Also, is it something you can grow at home? I mean, I will admit, not everyone has the ability to do this or the
Yeah.
space, and I totally get that. I also just want to use this time to proudly announce that I grew 5 tomatoes this year. They still are ripening for some reason, and it's September. Don't know if that's normal, but it's so fulfilling to see them. Like, you did that. You took it from this little thing and then you eat it, and it's the most delicious thing. Better than supermarket tomatoes. Anyways, sorry, digress. Just a low key brag I wanted to, to put in there. Yeah, well, in terms of the second circular economy principle, see, like, in terms of separating it and recycling it, right? See what you might be able to do with that waste that we generate. So if it's not something that you can get rid of altogether, I'm thinking like food waste. Maybe you don't want to eat the core of the apple, and probably not the safest. I think this apple seeds do have cyanide in them. Maybe you have to eat a lot of apple cores. With the food waste, we don't need to be throwing it in the bin. We could be using it as a home compost, or in the worm farm, or a bukashi bin if you don't have access to curbside composting. So lots of options there. You can use, the boxes that you get from ordering your whatevers. You can reuse those. Worms love it. A good toy for cats. Daisy obsessed with boxes. And then of course you can just keep them on hand for the next move as well. We don't need to be throwing away things. Let's see if there's another life for them. Again, going down the R ladder. Glass
Maybe.
jars. Sorry?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, I think, like sometimes actions or to take action requires to give up some convenience, because like with packaging, for instance, like keeping like some reusable packaging, you were about to mention the glass jars, for instance, you can reuse them, but usually it's because of convenience. We tend to buy it when we need it, and then when we have at home and it's discarded, we just throw it away. So it's also thinking about or developing some sort of consciousness that I would give up some convenience just to think about where I could use this if it's reusable. Just giving this example, I think this calls to consciousness and being aware. This is something we discussed in our episode we had with Thomas Lani on actually how to live sustainably, and it's something we recommend you to go and listen to. It's a very interesting and goes into detail in multiple aspects.
Yeah. There's so many different examples of what you can do with waste and how to reuse. So yeah, glass, like I said, the food waste, you can use it at home. Boxes can be reused, glass jars. I am embarrassed slash proud of my glass jar collection, and always looking for a reason to use them, and get excited. Actually, sometimes when I buy something and it's in a glass jar, I get excited more about the glass jar that I get to keep afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great for propagating plants, or you could put rubber bands around them, turn them into a coffee cup. Yeah. Honestly, if you just do a little Google search and say, how can I reuse this glass jar or whatever packaging, the answer is there.
I have where I come from, we have a good application for glass jars. It's famous, and that is using it for light bulbs. Basically, put the light bulbs inside jars for like outside, like bulbs that we put like on the walls, for instance, because it protects it against the rain and basically against rain, and it's a good application. So we don't have to buy like this, I know, very expensive lights protectors from the electrical like devices companies and so on.
There you
And
go.
it's really it's a good application. Like it's a repurposing like example basically.
Hmm. Yeah. I also I buy berries. I have berries every morning, and they come in these outrageous plastic trays, and
Yeah,
they just drive me
yeah.
crazy. But they make excellent mini greenhouses, especially the ones that close, the clamshell ones. And so I use them to grow seedlings in on the windowsill. They make really good
Hmm.
greenhouses. So fun fact for you. And
Ah, interesting.
yeah, but yeah, so I guess in terms of there's lots of things we can do as individuals, and it's the possibilities are infinite, I think. In terms of just a little recap, in terms of the three principles, there's lots of different ways we can reduce our waste. There's lots of things we can do in terms of making sure that we're recycling right and reusing, and repairing, and making sure that, yeah, we keep it out of the incineration and the landfill and environment. And there's things that we can do to regenerate, like growing things at home, getting involved in a local community garden. We can also donate to causes that we like if that's something that's available to us. We can support organic or biodynamic permaculture farmers. Again, not sometimes these are a little bit more expensive because just the way the food system works at the moment. But like you said, Said, they often cut out the packaging, so that's a win-win. I think let's leave it there. Let's for more info on this, definitely go to Tomas Schlani's episode that we did. I think episode 5 or 6. And there'll be more. There's so many examples of how to live sustainably, and there's no one right way. I think we'll leave it there, Said. So just to summarize our questions today: one, yes, businesses have an immense opportunity to tackle both social and environmental issues, which aligns with circularity directly because it's designed specifically for people. Two, yes, beekeeping is a great example or can be asterisk, a great
Yeah.
example of circularity if done correctly. And three, there are lots of ways us as individuals can live more circular. It's just about observing what you're already generating and finding creative ways that mean something to you and get you excited. Any last thoughts, words of wisdom, Saeed, before we wrap up? Any
Very
recommendations?
brilliant questions. First, I would like to ask like our listeners to comment with any questions they might have or topics they would like us to address in the upcoming episodes. I think what I would suggest is like when it comes like whether well if it's in terms of business, if you're thinking about business, developing a sustainable business, or like being in a company and you want to push for change, I think that starts with showing that it's possible to have a business that's focusing or prioritize equally people, planet. I always forget. Yeah,
Good one. I always want to say people, planet, pint because that's like a thing that I am involved, a global
But
meetup.
it's okay to forget about profit because we know
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
should be there, okay?
It's there, it's there.
But I think in like business wise, like you need to think like that so that people can hear you and can take action. It's very important. And then if it's like your personal life, I think it starts with building awareness and also learning practices other people like maybe from podcasts like this, from books, or from just, I think sometimes we see some interesting videos on social media on some really good stuff that is happening in the world out there. And we might apply that and also invite people in our surrounding to apply the same. I think we tried today to share some examples, even from our personal life. I think that's interesting. And yeah, I think I invite you to follow us, comment if there are any other questions that you might have.
Yes, send us your questions. We like this. This is fun.
Yeah, I think it's like it's allows us to have more like a specific discussion, and also it's flowing in different direction and it brings some really brilliant insights.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, well, that's all we have time for today. Like Said said, give us a follow, share with your friends, and send us through a comment or questions that you have, and we'll be able to answer them on the show. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on episode 12 of Millennials Gone Circular. Huge thanks to Adina, Conic, and Hannah, who all submitted their questions. It's your curiosity that fuels this podcast, and we absolutely loved digging into your ideas. Got a question of your own? We're always listening. Send us a DM at The Waste Not Spot, a voice note, or email via hello@thewastenotsspot.com, and we might just feature it in the next Q&A episode. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it with a friend, follow the podcast, or leave us a review. It really helps new listeners discover the show. Before we go, Millennials Gone Circular is a production of The Waste Not Spot. The Waste Not Spot recognizes the many traditional landowners around the world and their continued stewardship of our planet. We pay our respects and offer our deepest gratitude.